So I've come to a cave, a surprisingly not so echoey cave, to tell you that for some of your goals that you want to hit this year, you need to create echo chambers. Now, if that was just a reminder and that's enough for you to hit the ground running, go to work. But for people that this is a new concept too, this video will be a step-to-step guide on creating an impenetrable echo chamber to ensure maximal focus and output in hitting your goals this year. Use the timestamps wisely, but if this topic is new to you, I would suggest watching the entire thing. So one of the top reasons that you aren't where you want to be is because you lack focus when it comes to doing the things that you say you want to do. And this is not a new issue. Like, a lot of productivity people have addressed this, whether it's through the Pomodoro technique, deep work, flow state, whatever. This has been talked about before. However, these techniques, they don't necessarily make you want to focus, make you want to do the work. They're just simply like, okay, we got it. You don't want to do the work, but here's how you can just get it over and done with more efficiently or whatever. But I think the beauty of, what I'm calling this echo chamber method is that it genuinely does change your desires and change your wants and makes you want to do the work and want to focus. And for that reason, it's honestly one of my secret sauce things. I just think it's helped me so many times. And anytime I have a big goal, I use this method. So stick around. So yeah, let's start with definitions. An echo chamber, in the metaphorical sense at least, is an environment in which a person encounters only beliefs or opinions that coincide with their own, so that their existing views are reinforced and alternative ideas are not considered. Obviously, that typically has some negative connotations, but when we relate that for the intents and purposes of your New Year goals, we can understand the definition like this. You need to create an echo chamber to encounter only beliefs and opinions that coincide with your goals, so that your existing views regarding and efforts towards those goals are reinforced. And importantly, alternative ideas and goals are not considered. Feel free to play it back, digest it, but that is basically the whole idea in a nutshell. So I'm going to quickly run through the principles and assumptions behind this theory. Assumptions are really important because if you disagree with any of these assumptions or principles, then this method would probably not work for you and you should probably look for something else for your specific goal or whatever. So the first assumption is that apathy is the reason that you aren't focused enough or consistent enough to reach your goals. So let's use the common goal of fitness or physical goals. Let's say, maybe you saw someone who looked really fit and then you thought to yourself, oh yeah, I really should work on my, fitness and physical appearance. So you have that initial motivation and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. But then 2 days goes by and that initial motivation to do it dies down because you're no longer seeing that stimulus that made you want to change, and your environment has returned to what it was that caused you to be in the state that you're not happy with, essentially. And that is not necessarily your fault. It's not a character flaw, but day-to-day life, it comes with distractions. Like that goal that you have, whatever it isn't visually embodied in your reality. But what is visually embodied today is the TV, the TikTok, the food that's probably going against your diet. Those things are real and here today. Meanwhile, your goal was an idea that you got a couple weeks ago in January or whatever. So that's why it's easy to become apathetic towards the goals that we really thought we wanted to do. And obviously some people will say, well, if life got in the way, then maybe you didn't want your goal badly enough. But I don't think, there is some truth to that, but I don't think that's really realistic. And the fact of the matter is, day-to-day life is crazy and there are things that are genuinely really important. And your neural connections, your habits, they get in the way. Assumption number 2 is that desires motivate our actions. Yes, we have to take responsibility and ownership over things. Unless you were literally under duress, gun to your head, if you didn't hit a goal, it was because there were decisions that you made willingly and you wanted to make those decisions. And look, not to be tough love or toxic productivity or whatever, maybe yes, you had this study goal that you want to spend X amount of time every single day, but you also, a relative came around and you want to spend a few hours with them. And both of those are really good things to want to do and spend time. But I think it's important that, we accept that, yes, I made a decision that was against my goal. And that's okay. The next assumption is mirroring. This is basically the psychological concept that when we see something or someone that we take a liking to or that we admire or that we look up to, we tend to mirror their behavior. The next is the power of suggestion. This is basically when you see something or someone mentions something and at a later time you then notice that thing again or you go back to think about that thing. And the next assumption or principle is the idea of neural connections and habit forming. The more you do something, the more you're going to do it. Your brain literally just builds that connection and it becomes like a habit muscle almost. So yeah, those are just a few principles and assumptions that make this idea of echo chambers work. Okay, so this section is on how to create an echo chamber. Where social media can be seen as a hindrance to productivity, I think you can use it to enhance it. It's 2024 and everyone is consuming content, and I don't think it's realistic to suggest that we don't. I just think that we should do so in a way that helps us meet our goals. In this day and age with such powerful and potentially toxic algorithms, you can create an echo chamber in less than 24 hours. In terms of where to go to create the echo chamber, obviously all social media can be useful for this, but I personally would recommend either YouTube or Instagram. TikTok is really, really good for discovery, but it is also the most addictive platform and it's very sort of short form focused. So I think for those two reasons, I would really disadvise against using TikTok for this. TikTok is the prime place to be distracted. So I think it's better you build your echo chambers on YouTube and Instagram and know that that is where you go for the content that will fuel you hitting your goal. In my opinion, I think you should actually stick to long form content on YouTube because this is actually the best way to build an echo chamber. But look, see what works for you. So in terms of practicality, look, if you have the goal of getting a certain grade, you need to create an echo chamber for study content on YouTube. Search up study vlogs, watch one, watch another one, boom, the algorithm has picked up that you like that and they will continue to suggest that. If you have a fitness goal, look up fitness videos, transformation videos or whatever. You feed the YouTube algorithm, it gives you back what you give it. So on this channel, we have a bias towards action. We take steps in the right direction. So the majority of this journey towards getting to your goal will be just doing what you know you have to do. So in terms of how the echo chamber is helping you, it is just in terms of getting that focus. So that is the bulk of the day, the weeks, the months. It is getting the work in. But perhaps at the start of your day, during your breaks, or before you go to bed, that is when you visit your echo chamber. So if we stick to a common goal of health and fitness, maybe in the morning you watch a gym vlog and that will maybe motivate you or just remind you that, yep, I need to go to my morning workout. Maybe during the day, during breaks, you watch workout split videos so you get some inspiration for your next workout session. Or in the evenings, maybe you go and you watch some meal prep videos and that sort of helps you to know, okay, tomorrow morning I'm gonna have a healthy breakfast. And that can be at the very start. And at this point, when you've been doing this for even just a couple of days, the algorithm knows what you want, it knows the vibe that you're on. It's not going to be suggesting some sort of mukbang video for you because that would distract you. And the powerful thing about this is after a couple of weeks, a few weeks, your brain just thinks this is who you are now. You are someone who does the work, you're going to the gym, you're eating healthy or whatever, and all of your community is too. Like, to your brain, this is like, oh, everyone does this. This is literally almost all you know. So going back to the whole echo chamber idea of having no alternative thoughts, this is your life. You act in the way and you watch people acting in that way. So in terms of like personal experience and personal testimonials about this method, for me, when I was in school, I decided to take an additional subject. And so I wasn't able to be taught that subject. I had to teach myself, like in my own time essentially. And obviously it's super stressful and you're like, okay, cool, I need to do well in this because it's gonna look bad if I took an extra subject and got a bad grade. So for me, when I first set out, like the school year started, I realized that I wasn't acting in the way that would get me that. Like, I was distracted and I was just not studying enough. And so I went about building this echo chamber for myself. So I'd have, a study day planned out, maybe it's on a weekend or whatever. And in my breaks, I would watch study vlogs. So even in the time when, sort of my brain was winding down, then I would literally just watch video of people studying. So just to reiterate that, yep, this is normal. Because sometimes as well, like when you're really like in the grind, you're like, this is so much effort and everyone's out there having fun and I'm here working towards my goals. By watching these vlogs, it's like, oh, yeah, I guess other people are doing this too. So that's one way that's really helped me. And the thing is, when you've done this well, the algorithm becomes your friend. It becomes your accountability partner almost in hitting these goals. Because let's say, maybe it's a day that I'm not studying or whatever, what's going to come up on YouTube is going to be that study content. I'm like, oh yeah, this one looks quite good because, well, I've been doing it a lot. It's a habit. So I watch it. And then maybe you're watching and you're like, oh, to be fair, I wasn't planning on studying today, but probably should. Why? Because, well, this person's doing it, and mirroring, or just the power of suggestion, right? And I think there's sort of two buckets of content that can go into your echo chamber. So it can either be content that is of people who are at your end goal. So maybe it's people at the university you want to go to, people in the job you want to work in, or it's people who've documented their journey towards going there. And I personally prefer the latter. I prefer seeing people who are documenting the journey because I'm in the journey right now. So it just helps that, days when you're tired or whatever, you can see, yeah, look, this person looks tired, but they're doing the work, and so you do it too. So there are 2 extra benefits of echo chambers that will help you in hitting your goals this year. The first is that the echo chamber can help you in more ways than you thought. So while the primary aim of the echo chamber is to create desire and to, sort of keep focus going, I think it can also help you in giving you little tips and tricks that you didn't see coming. So for me, on my study goal, I knew the study technique that worked for me and I was fine with that. I just wanted these videos to help me stay motivated. However, I still learned about a bonus tip about making my flashcards virtual, and that has really helped me as well. So there can be ways that, maybe it's your fitness. By watching these videos, you can learn, okay, yeah, there's actually a more, better form to have or something, or this is the best way to do your workout splits. Or if you have the goal of starting a business, you can learn about really cool softwares that can help you to outsource and make things more efficient. So the echo chamber can do more than it says on the tin. The second reason is the people, the content creators in your echo chamber, they can actually make you hit your goals faster, or they can make you raise your goals. For example, for me, I had a large dissertation that I wanted to do, and I sort of just planned to do it over a few weeks, just chipping away an hour here and there. But one of the videos that came up on my algorithm, trusty algorithm, was I think it was, is it Vika TV, or maybe it was Eve Bennett. Somebody was writing an essay in like a day or 2 days, and I watched it and I was like, oh, interesting. Maybe I can do my dissertation in like less amount of time. So I decided to do it in only 5 days. I ended up doing it in 4 days, getting like amazing grades. It was featured on like the national qualification website or whatever. But I would probably not have done that if I hadn't seen that video. Like, I'd already planned to do it in a reasonable pace, but I was like, what? Let's just blast through it. So yeah, that's how sometimes your echo chamber can actually do more good for you than you thought. So I just want to end with a couple warnings. Number 1, this is not a long-term strategy, and you should stop as soon as it becomes a distraction. If you remember, one of the first principles and assumptions behind this is neural connections. Over time, I'm not sure what the time is for you. Obviously, there is some science on how long it takes to make a habit, but over time, you shouldn't really need as much content, if any content at all. After 3 months, if you have been, you've been studying, you've been watching content to keep you studying, after 3 months, you probably won't need content to make study, because you are just now somebody who studies. Like, you have become that person. So continuing to watch the content out of just habit of watching the content is problematic and could distract you. So something I would say, maybe after 6 weeks, if it's a completely new habit that you started, after 6 weeks, maybe cutting down, maybe if you watched a video in the morning, cut out the morning video for sure. And maybe just keep it in your breaks. Like, the end goal is to just become the person who does these activities. So remember, this tip is all about creating desire and having that desire form into habits and having that shape who you are. And so you do not need an echo chamber forever. Stop visiting it if it becomes a distraction. Number 2 is to have boundaries and definitely protect your health. Obviously with certain types of content, especially perhaps the fitness content of sort, but I guess it could be any. If it does at any point become toxic or unhealthy, definitely stop. This is literally a strategy that you can utilize from billion-dollar companies. Elections are won or lost based on this, and I think you can utilize it to hit your goals this year. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.